How's everybody?
Everybody's good. Everybody's
We enjoyed the last 4 or 5
She
days.
didn't kill me in my sleep, so I'm still here.
There you go.
Right. Well, I'm doing the podcast today because we had we were supposed to have a full house, so we couldn't let everybody in. So we decided unanimously that we would leave Nate on the sidelines.
Yeah, we took a vote. He finished
Nate's
last.
not invited today.
Yeah.
We're going for quality, not quantity this time.
That's right.
And we're going to talk about, among other things, FSR snapping off another one. How does that even happen? I mean, I got to be honest with you. I can't believe that in this day and age, I didn't think we'd see in this day and age anybody dominating the game. I just thought it would be way too difficult, especially if it's only 9-ball these guys are playing in the match room. I figured it was going to be impossible for anybody to actually dominate, and he's doing it. It's incredible.
Yes.
Yeah, certainly for the last, year or so, year plus, he's been the hottest player, on earth. But to me, it goes beyond having a good year and winning a Euro Tour and things like that. This is 3 legitimate majors in 6 months, which
Crazy,
is and I was looking it up. U.S. Open, World 8-Ball, Whirlpool Championship. You know what his record is? 24-0.
Oh,
24-0 in 3 tournaments. He had, 3 hill matches in the U.S. Open. The next 2 events, nobody even took him to the hill, much less beat him. And the amazing thing about him is there were a lot of matches, especially in the World Championship, where he was behind early on, 3 games, maybe 4 games, whatever. And the next thing you know, he's 4 ahead. He was down 3-0 to Chang, and Chang should have made it 4-0 and missed. And then I turned around and came back. He was up like 8-3. It was just ridiculous. What he does when he hits his stride and breaks the way he's breaking and just sprints around the table. It's just amazing.
I was going to say, are we looking at the new top breaker? Is he? I mean, we've said for years Shane breaks the ball better.
Yeah, he's certainly in the conversation.
Anybody else, but
yeah, he's certainly in the conversation. He's certainly in the conversation with this format for sure. With the format the way it is at the Matchroom events, he's right. He's at the top of the conversation, no doubt about it.
So does he take the 10 balls coming up over in not too long? Does he take the 10 ball as well? Do you reckon?
Holy crap! You're not gonna count him out. That's for sure. I don't know how he stacks up 10-ball break against some of the other guys, but depends on there's the quirkiness that everybody talks about with the rack that they use there. People breaking from the side rail, things like that. So it's going to be interesting to see. He certainly there's no real reason to bet against him. There's nobody such a clear favorite that he would be an underdog to anybody. Don't you think?
Yeah. When it comes to, I mean, I haven't seen much of him playing 10 ball, so I don't know how his 10 ball break stacks up against the rest of the field. But he doesn't baby that break in the 9 ball, and he's accurate with it. So if you're accurate on the cut break in the matchroom break, if you're accurate enough to get that dead every single time, hitting the 10 ball break full in the face shouldn't really be an issue with him, and he's got the power to do whatever he wants with it. So, and running tables, he's just fearless at the moment. It's crazy.
He talk about confidence.
These refs, they're not racking these balls the same every time. The only ball that's the same is the 1 ball and the 9 ball. The rest are wherever they end up, wherever they put them, correct? Yeah. Yeah,
he gets a nice spread every time.
He does. He seems not to get too many clusters.
But it's a consistency.
And has a shot on the next ball.
It's a consistency. He gets into the rail, and he gets the cue ball straight into the 9 again, which stops the cue ball in the middle of the table in the rack area. So it doesn't really matter where the rest of the balls go. He's unlucky not to have a decent shot on the lowest ball left because the one's going in all the time. The other guys that were struggling with the break, and it ended up being their tournament that it cost them the tournament, the likes of Jason. Jason wasn't catching the 9 ball when it was coming off the rail. It was going underneath, and the second rail was catching the effect still, and pushing it down into the corner pocket or down into the corner. So even if it wasn't scratching, it scratched a lot. Even if it wasn't scratching, difficult first shot, not always on a ball.
Sure.
And it happened to quite a few of the top guys, that break.
Well, that's one of the things that turned Sophie in. One of the things that did him in was scratching 3 times in the bottom of the table in the final.
But what a story that is as well.
How about the jump shot that Francisco hit on that 2-ball? He jumps over the top, hits the back of the 2-ball, cue ball,
and it still makes it. And the cue ball rattles and jumps off the table back into play again. Yeah, crazy.
When things are going good, they go good.
Yeah, that got a little smile.
And that's it with him. He just doesn't seem to be able to do anything wrong. He looked shaky. I have to admit, in the final,
first half of the final,
and at certain moments during the tournament. But when
we talk about his opponent a little bit too in that finals. I mean.
Of course. Well, let's go back to the beginning. We're 6 days ago or whatever it is, and we're getting ready for this World Championships. I'll tell you now, everyone. There's obviously, the whole Sufi story is remarkable, and it's creating a buzz within the pool world. It's fantastic. It's it's like Al Shaheen 2.0, even more of a story than Omar. It's like the extreme version of the Omar story. And everybody's wondering, who is this guy? I'll be perfectly honest for you. Here, where I am in the world, and everybody around here, doesn't surprise anybody. We all know him. We all know him from the German tour and the German Bundesliga. He's very active over this part of the world, and he's a top guy. He's got a Fargo around about 780, And that's come from playing Bundesliga against the top German players, against the top European players. You've got the Spanish guys. Wait a minute, Raymond's here. Well, let's let him in. Get in, mate. You have no audio. You need to check your audio. Sanchez Ruiz and Al Qaeda, they play in the German Bundesliga. The Austrians, Mario and Albin and Max, they all play in the Bundesliga. The Dutch guys, Niels, Bijsbosch, they all play there. So the players that play in the Bundesliga, you've got Sufi, another one, there's that Lars Kuchelm that was playing there as well, got to the last 16, last 32 maybe. These guys are playing all the time against these top European guys, and they're building up, experience. The problem is that up until now, if they want to really break through into the top ranks, it needed to be a lot of traveling. Now there's tournaments that are on their doorstep, like Fulda. Sufi got to the last 16 in Fulda. That got him the ranking points. That got him an invite to the World Championships. Probably plus a little bit the fact that, the Syrian coming out for Syria as well probably didn't damage him. He'd played for Germany all the time before that. When he played the European Open, it was on the German flag.
Sure.
And I was sitting on Tuesday evening. We had team competition, and one of my teammates in my team is Ivo Arts, one of the top Dutch players. And we were talking about the draw and some of the players that had been chosen. And he turned around to me and says, "Watch out for Sufi. He's got a golden draw." And I said, "I hadn't even looked at it yet." And I looked and we saw and we looked at it and thought, okay, yeah, first round he had Snigoki. He lost to Snigoki. He's kind of supposed to. But then when you looked at how it was going to work out from there, to get to the final is incredible. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean that's still no matter how much everybody knows that he plays well, this was a run. If
you really analyze the run that he had, look at the players. I mean, he's got to the last 16, beating players he should have beat.
Yeah.
The only one who's a real big name that you would say, okay, is Mika. But Mika's still only a couple of Fargo points above him. Now, these guys do it all the time, consistently, match after match. For a Sufi to come into his tournament and do it match after match, things have to go his way, and they did, obviously. And we saw it in a couple of matches. But he's beating guys that he's either 50-50 or favourite against.
Yeah, right.
Have you ever seen anybody shoot faster? Take fewer strokes and shoot faster?
That's what I was going to say. One of the funniest things would have been if he had played that tournament under the German flag, which he has every right to do. He would not only would he be in the Premier League pool, which he is now, and the World Masters, which he is now, he'd have been Filler's World Cup of Pool partner for the World Cup of Pool, probably. And Filler would be playing in a team for the first time ever in his life, probably, where he's the slow player.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Can you guys hear me okay now?
Welcome.
Rim.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good.
Yeah.
So
no,
over here he's known. He's known as a big player. You know,
Okay.
there's
We're talking about Sophie.
You saw one of his sponsors, Relive or Relive, one of the sponsors he had on his shirt.
Okay.
That's a production company who does all the German tour. It's quite big tournaments over here. Efren and Earl have played in them before. There's quite a famous video of Joshua Filler playing a match when he's 13 years old and completely destroying a pro at the time, a top pro at the time. That was actually at one of these German tour events, which Sufi plays all the time, and that's high quality pool there. These are top guys that are playing there.
Neil's talking
so
about
the guy,
the Bundesliga.
it's not for him to get to the final is a shock for everybody. For him to beat the guys that he beat, for him to beat the guys that he beat up into up before Albon, no shock to anybody around here. You know
before I looked up his world ranking.
71, something like that.
It was 79.
Yeah.
And in the world, and then I looked up some U.S. players who are ranked higher than him, and two of them, one was Greg Hogue and one was Danny Olson, and those aren't real big names in the United States.
No,
they're names that everybody knows who plays here in this country, but they're not way up there. And can you imagine one of those guys going to this tournament, Matchroom, inviting them, and then coming in second place, playing in the finals? It's hard for me to imagine.
I mean, if you're a big believer in Fargo rate, let me just throw a couple of names at you here: Nikos Economopoulos, Thomas Kaplan, Christopher Tevez, who got to the final of the 10 ball. Omar Al Shahim, Robbie Capito, Corey Jewell, Mark Beisterbosch, Strickland. Maybe leave Strickland out of it. Jesus Atencio, Oscar. You know. Dimitri Jungo, Lo Ho Sum. These are all guys that are either just a couple of points above him or actually below him as far as Fargo goes. And these are all guys that if they won the event or got to the final, you'd be saying, good run, well done. So, you know, they've done well. So, I mean, he's a top guy. The thing is that there's a lot of those guys out there, especially over here, a huge amount of those guys, but it's always been, I find out, we know it's costs you money to travel to tournaments. And if you're having to, in order to make a name for yourself, you're having to go to the States and play, they don't do it. You know, we know the background of Sufi. He's not a wealthy guy, you know, he can't be, you know. So it'll be interesting to see what he does now. He's got a little bit of money in his pocket and he's got some big events coming up that he's going to get invited to now.
Oh, yeah.
See how it goes.
He's going to get a little attention now from this.
Well, it's kind of a perfect storm too, because he's, you know, this is like a coming out party for him. I think a lot to Jim's credit, you know, there's a lot of guys who haven't gotten the crack yet, the opportunity to go out and play on that big stage, and for him to perform at such a high level and to be charismatic and charming and to have a good backstory and to see that, you know, he's just taking the most of his shot. It's awesome. You know, that's what you want. Kind of like Joey Tate had that great match at the U.S. Open with Shane, and he got an invite to the World Championship. That's an opportunity that gets birthed from having a moment. You know what I mean? And and you know, a guy like Sophie really is capitalizing. Now he's going to get to play PRP and get to play the Masters and stuff. That's awesome, especially for the guys that are in the Middle East. You know, Bader and Youssef we know of, and they've kind of been working hard in this arena, trying to crack in and make those deep runs. And now, you know, Sufi kind of coming in along the way. It's kind of fun to see. So
really fun. And this 9-ball in the spot. Yeah, they're pocketing the 1-ball. Okay. They're not doing the wing ball every time. Sure, they're getting the 1-ball in, but it's different. It's just a different animal. It's a better animal. There's no question.
It's a much better animal if it's the 1-ball that's going in, because then then you're random on the next one. There's no controlling a specific ball, you know.
Well, so it doesn't really matter if it's the wing ball or the 1-ball. It's just that it's so difficult to have consistent layouts, which is I think what people have been complaining about with the one on the spot, and then even there's a conversation earlier in the week about the soft break stuff. I think people have like this idea that the soft break is like it's just a strategy, it's just a tactic, and I think the 9 on the spot and the smaller break box mitigates that stop repeatability. It's still something that even if you make the wing ball every time, you're not guaranteed position on the one. So I've heard some
kisses behind the rack. Oh yeah.
The only like nuance, the only nuanced suggestion that I think, because Matchroom's very close, I think, to like just creating a standard for 9-ball that is we can move past all this like tinkering stuff, is to do away with the speed requirement. There's a lot of conversation about like, oh, well, you know, there's so much vagary around what's a soft break and what's not. And I've been on match tables where somebody is peppering the balls hard, another person's breaking them soft. They're having mixed results and the referee doesn't say anything. They let the players play. Then there's sometimes where you get on a TV table and a referee will say, well, that's too soft. But the guy next to him is breaking him softer and they're not saying anything. And it's an antiquated rule because that rule is really because we were playing one on the spot with a template, or the ball's tapped in and Corey was stop shotting and playing position on the one's moving 4 inches. That's obviously never going to happen with this break format with the 9 on the spot and the break box. You have to cut the balls. You have to move. There's enough randomization where even if you hit them soft, you're not guaranteed that, you know, Daryl Peach run out in the world 9-ball championships. Like, it's never going to happen. So just do away with it and leave like this kind of like vague kind of like, oh, well, what's the subjective rule? Where's the origin of it? It's coming from, you know, 1 on the spot, template, stop shot, run out stuff. It's gone because we're not playing that format anymore. So just kind of let the players figure out what's optimal for them and employ a strategy to try and win. Because if you tell somebody, oh, hit them harder than you can control, now you're telling them to take the worst of it against somebody who maybe, you know, spends 8 hours a day breaking them out, a way to break them hard and have more success, like a Kachi or a Shane. You know, they tend to hit the balls hard and they can go on gears, but there are other guys who hit them softer and they can catch gears. It's really the quality and standard of play. And there's so much variance and so much nuance with how to get position. We're going to see more safeties, more moving. It's 9-ball. Guys are going to run racks. If you don't want guys to run racks, like, go watch One Pocket. You know what I mean? Like, it's 9-ball. Like, let's get to where, you know, you get out of the way of the players a little bit more and just let them continue to play. But I think the show and the presentation, this is kind of like the highest quality we've seen for the World 9-ball in many years. I think I was really happy when Matchroom picked up the World 9-ball after it was in Qatar for a little while, because kind of like, you know, we didn't really hear much about it. And, you know, it's kind of like lower quality pushing the envelope and making a quality show. And it's really entertaining. I think even Don Mackey posted about something. He's like, this is really fun to watch. You know what I mean? And these players are wonderful and they're playing
really
great.
Fun to watch.
You know what I mean? And he's an old timer who, you know, is used to them smashing the balls hard head on when everybody was slugging each other.
Break and run 7 or 8 in a row. You don't see it anymore.
No, you don't see much, but you do see 4s and 5s every so often.
4s and 5s, but
I mean, that's great. You know, it's hard. To do that, you feel like you've done something. You know what I mean? So you kind of get some rolls and some fortune. There's some of that, but
Francisco did that in a few matches too. He put some 5s in there.
Absolutely, you're still going to see it. These guys are going to get opportunities,
especially when he was down those matches.
But this is, I mean, when you're talking about the whole speed of the break and stuff, I think the way the game is going just now, that is an issue that will sort of automatically take care of itself if things continue the way they are just now, because nobody's soft breaking their way to a tournament.
No, of course not. They can't really.
The guys that are winning these Matchroom events are smacking that rack. Shane, you know, Albin doesn't hit it at half speed. You know, FSR doesn't hit it at half speed. Filler doesn't hit it at half speed. They're up at like probably about 70-80% of what they can give, which is right about where you want it to be. You know,
and I think the format will force you to optimize a certain way. The format's going to make you hit the balls a certain way to get the best opportunity. You know what I mean? If you hit them too soft, you're never going to make a 9 on the break. You're never going to get multiple balls to kind of go in. If you miss the wing ball, or if you just miss the one, you know what I mean? If you hit them too soft, you're going to be dead in the water, and then the guy's going to run out on you. You know what I mean? So, I think that's the only thing, like, to see certain players get a warning in certain spots. I understand what they're trying to do, but I think if a player plays a suboptimal shot, it's going to cost them. So if their strategy is to employ a suboptimal shot in any other position, it's going to cost them.
I mean, I saw it happen. I saw it happen twice. I saw Alex getting his warning for soft breaking, and then I saw Hoang getting a warning, which I'm not sure he understood. Both broke better after they got the warning.
They did.
They had better results on the break after they got the warning. They started hitting it a little bit harder and making sure they weren't going to get another warning. And the ball split better for them.
Right.
So if that doesn't tell you what you need to know, you know.
No, it's pretty obvious.
I think if they break dry, they're going to try and change up the break. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's really the point. But to have to fade the referee telling you, oh, you know, I might give ball in hand to your opponent, assuming you don't get out here, like, or don't break them quote unquote hard enough. We don't have a rule for that. So it's kind of like, what is it? Is it harder? Like, what if Alex hits him a little bit harder? You know what I mean? And then scratch.
I mean, the only way.
Then he's thinking
the
about
only way
that.
you can do it is either you have a speed gun or you have a decibel measuring. You know,
Yeah,
you can either
at
do it,
that point,
you can either do it on speed of the cue
why?
ball, or you can do it on noise attack.
Please don't go there. Please don't. Please.
You're gonna have.
I'm not saying.
No,
have.
I'm just saying.
That's the
Pool
way
in,
to measure
I'm just saying for pool in general. Don't go there. Don't go.
No,
to
it shouldn't happen.
Don't
But I'm
go
saying if you're going to
start
do it,
getting
you
this
have to measure
random
it.
stuff and arbitrary stuff. It makes it.
No, that's what I mean. If there's going to be a rule, it has to be measurable. You can't just
Exactly, and it's not now. So I think it's the only thing that
or
I would
have
change.
one person that decides all the time, and not several different people making a call.
I'll just make sure to slide that guy 20. I'll just make sure to slide the guy 20 before my match. Hey, you're the guy.
Anyway,
you go.
I loved it. I thought it was a fantastic event. I mean,
oh God, I loved every match I watched.
3 tables now. 3 tables. This is with commentary on 2 of them. So every time there's an extra thing. I thought the commentary guys, Carl Boyes is in here. I don't want to give him any more. I don't want to give him compliments, but I think the commentary group that they have, the mainstayers, the 4 main guys, you know, Carl, JJ, Phil Yates, and
Michael.
I think they're great. I really do. I think Carl's getting better and better every single time.
I posted on the YouTube channel. I posted on the YouTube comments for one of their things. I said Carl is in short order becoming the voice of Matchroom Pool. I think he's done a really excellent job of taking just his natural charisma and like experience with the game and bringing credibility on that point. But he's really become a polished pundit, and he makes it really enjoyable for people who both have experience watching the game and playing the game, but also people who are just laymen, who just are casual fans. I had a friend of mine was watching one of the highlight videos this weekend, and they're not really into pool. They don't play, they don't watch, they don't play leagues or anything, but they heard Carl describing some of the shots, and they're like, I love that guy. Makes it fun and exciting and enjoyable for them. And they're like, and I was like, oh, he this is who he is or whatever. And I think Carl is really kind of becoming a class pundit, kind of like, we have Billy Incardona. AccuStats always refers to him as like the voice of AccuStats, his tenure and legacy pundit. I think Carl has really kind of stepped into his own and become a very professional, quality presenter that makes the game fun and enjoyable, can relate to the players, has credibility with them, can be fun and enjoyable for the fans. So I think he's really taken this opportunity and is making it really great as Matchroom continues to grow, as they continue to blossom, as the sport and the events kind of raise in class and standard. I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah, I don't want to forget Alex Lely I mentioned as well. Alex Lely now is back in there after his Mosconi Cup captaincy thing. I mean, it's a solid group they have. Sorry, Rob.
When JJ explained one time, there was a shot, the ball was off the rail just slightly, and it was cut down the rail. And he said, this shape shot can be done this way, or that way, but if he drags it back a little bit, and then he stopped and he explained what that meant and how that was going to happen. And that you get that low spin off the cue ball just before it hits the object ball. Now you can pocket the ball with a firmer stroke, but the cue ball reacts softly off the rail like that. And I thought that was really key, because there's a lot of people out there watching didn't know what that meant until he explained that.
It's a great balance of technical information, and they explain things in a way that's fun and engaging. And I think Matchroom, as far as the pundits go, are doing a really good job. Really, really good job, especially as we start gaining steam, with a lot of these bigger events. So,
I love the camera angles and all that stuff was great.
Yeah, production stuff. It's all great.
They're getting better and better every time.
Better and better
every
all
single
the time.
event. They're
I'm
raising the
loving
bar.
it. And switching
Mike,
from table to table, giving us little bits and pieces of the other matches that are going on at the same time. That's great.
Yep.
So did you guys have any players that you thought that were kind of like surprise standouts for you? That kind of, besides obviously,
I thought Alex.
Who's that guy?
Filler again was superhuman.
Well,
standouts.
Alex Hatch wins against Filler is really great, especially in 6 days or whatever. Twice at Derby and then once over here. Or no, it was twice at the world 9-ball, right? Because he beat him on both sides.
That is as good as he can be.
Yeah, he's played really
I think it's
solid 9-ball for, solid pool for the last couple of months. He was really solid at Derby. And for him to come back and have to play Josh twice and beat him twice, that's
super strong.
That's pretty astonishing.
Impressive.
Yeah, he was great.
I mean, I enjoyed his commentary. He did the commentary with Alex Lely the day after he was out of the tournament, I think.
Okay, I didn't hear.
And you could really sense that there's an excitement in him about the game. He wants to change things. He was talking about, I'm still learning. I have to keep learning if I want to keep up with these guys, and he's still got that passion for the game, and he wants to get back in. He wants to get back up to the top of the game. He's not happy to be, to be known as the guy who used to be one of the best in the world, kind of thing. He wants to get back there again. I really enjoyed listening to him when he was in the booth with him.
One thing I really appreciate about this ball is that it makes the game smarter, and it really plays to somebody's experience and strength, like Alex. Alex, I watched him give up 15-4 to JRB at Griff's when I was in Vegas last. And watching the way he addresses shot selection and patterns and running the balls and getting behind balls and playing two-way shots and putting pressure on his opponent every inning, like he never just takes like a casual inning off. And, seeing a format that kind of plays to his strengths, where it's not just like 6 first, it's like there's more chess, there's more nuance to how the shot selections are. And even if you go back and watch Josh's match with Alex, where Alex eliminated him, there was 2 or 3 shots where Alex made a mistake, right? And Filler took advantage. And in the past, you'd see Filler run like 3 or 4 from there and just overwhelm somebody with the offense. But the nature of the way the format is, there's more engagement back and forth. And Alex was able to just claw his way back in with really, really smart shot selection that left him never naked. Like, he never really took a naked shot where if I miss this ball, Josh is going to be open. It was always, if I miss this ball, then I have a chance at cover. There was a really smart shot he took where he had an open look pocket, but he played a bank shot behind another object ball. And he played the bank shot double speed, so that if he missed the bank, he would had a backdoor safety available to him. And nobody else in the field would have played that shot. But Alex, knowing his skills and knowing that he's not 28 anymore, where he can just make everything, he's got to play, and he's playing somebody who is, who can make everything. He can't afford an empty inning where he just gives him a free game. So he's playing very cagey, very nuanced, patient 9-ball that is forcing Filler into positions that are uncomfortable to him. Like, you can tell Filler wants to be open and wants to be shooting, wants to be tearing through racks. And the fact that Alex keeps bringing Filler back into the game in a position where he's not open and he's got to engage and he's got to consider his weaknesses is very probably weighs on Filler, especially as the match goes on and it goes into like 7-7, 8-8, and he hasn't just overwhelmed him already. It's probably something that Alex knows and can account for. And the longer the match goes, I think the more it suits him, especially if he's holding up, and making the outs. And recently, coming off of Derby, making a deep run, getting third, like, he's running balls well too. So it's like, I think I really appreciate this format because it gives a player like him a chance to better skill set. And you would argue that he has probably the biggest and the broadest skill set outside of Efren. You know what I mean, of anybody playing, really. You know what I mean? And he gets to showcase that now in a game that's mostly thought of as this one-dimensional offensive display. So I'm super down.
I like Mika's performance in this event also.
Yeah.
He got in there. He got in the mix a little bit.
Mika's been running deep.
He's not letting up at all.
No, not at all.
There's a couple of the old guys. They're still batting it. Throw Niels in there as well.
Niels, oh my God, quietly. We didn't see him
to go out to Mario. I mean, Mario got a couple of big chunks of luck towards the end of that match. Niels looked good to get through there. And he's a former world champion. He knows he knows once he gets to the business end of that event, he knows he can win it. He'd be a big dangerous if he gets past Panda there,
oh my God! I mean, he's in. What was it? Final 8. He was final 8, right? Final 8.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, it's anybody's game. I think Duong, Quoc Nguyen, the Vietnamese player, really made a great show for himself.
Yeah. I was impressed with his play.
I watched him play at the U.S. Open last year, and on the final day. This was, I think, to make the final cut. And he played 4 matches, I think, that day, and 3 of them were flawless. And I was just so impressed with this guy. He probably impressed me of anybody I saw, the most impressed of anybody I saw at the tournament, because the other guys that performed well have a name and they're kind of known. And so you kind of expect them to play, pretty high tier. This guy played exemplary A1 class pool, 3 matches in a row, won 3 strong matches, and it looked like he was never going to get phased. And then the last match he played, his elimination match, you can tell it was like a fatigue, was kind of, it takes a lot out of you to play those matches back to back to back. And he just made a few errors and he played well, you know what I mean? But not like apex, pool. And he lost a close match at the end to get knocked out. But I watched, this guy is a monster player. And so
we'll probably see him again at the World Cup of Pool, I guess.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Matchup for Shane compared to the other matchups, I said, well, this is probably one of the worst draws for Shane in this round, because the guy plays great, and when he's in a position where he can only have to play like 1 match or 2 matches, you know what I mean? When you're in the business end of the event in a format like this, very dangerous. Going hill and went his way, he knocked out Shane and ended his run. But I was happy for him that he got the opportunity to showcase his game too, because he's a champion, stone cold champion, just tremendous player. Somebody to watch out for.
Yeah, there's some players out of Vietnam. I played Wen, his name was, a Vietnamese champion in 3-cushion out at the Verhoeven in 2017. And he beat me 25-3 in 5 innings.
Yeah, averaged a 5 on you, not bad.
So many of these players out there that we haven't had the opportunity to see, that we haven't heard from before, and I feel like the whole Sufi story, it's almost like this is what, I mean, Emily mentioned it.
Yeah.
When the new ranking was coming out and all these new tournaments were getting announced, saying we're putting something together that's going to give everybody an opportunity if you're willing to work hard and travel, put the work in and invest in yourself. There is the opportunities for you to get rewarded for that, and I'm hoping this Sufi story encourages more people. I think we will see more of these people, relative unknowns or unknown in certain areas of the world. I think more and more of them will start coming through, because the tournaments are becoming more on their doorsteps.
Yeah, they have more opportunities now. We have the Asian tour, so we'll probably see more like
Vietnamese. We're going to see players there that nobody's ever heard of.
Great players that we don't know. There's this guy in the Philippines who I hope gets to play in that tour. His name is Baset Moktaibak, I think his name is. They call him the Kingpin. He just drilled Chang Jung-lin in a challenge match on Sharks on their YouTube challenge matches. They play a race to 63 10-ball alternate break, but you must play safe or push out after the break every inning if you have a legal break. And he drilled him 63-39. Just tortured Chang Jung-lin, and one of the guys that they say is like just a killer from the Philippines. I'd love to see him play and more of Duong. And then now we have the Balkan tour that Matchroom just announced, which is going to bring out more of those regional guys. Like we had Oliver Zolnoki kind of pop up a few years ago. We're like, oh, what a great player. Some deep runs. There's probably 20, 30 other guys who are in that caliber or close to it that are going to get some opportunities. And hopefully a Middle Eastern, African tour, something like that, where you have guys like, like Sufi, like Bader, like Al Youssef, that get to showcase their stuff. And then, hopefully more tours here in the US. Obviously we need that. There's, I think, 6 events in the US this year, which is good. And that's an uptick from last year.
Did you guys feel at any point, I made a note here in the finals, Francisco he was on the hill and he had the 7, 8, and 9 left. And he placed position for the 7 ball over in the corner, and it was just wasn't really a difficult shot. And he missed it short, hit the short rail before the pocket. And I thought to myself, that's the first time I'd noticed that there was maybe the pressure thing was
Well, he played the wrong shot. He played the wrong shot to get the 7.
Yes,
he should
did.
have let.
No,
He's tried to take the 7 off the rail. He should have just played the combi down the rail onto the 8.
He should have played
it was
the
unmissable,
combination.
really.
I agree. Yeah,
but that's pressure. Pressure. It can affect your stroke, and it can affect your thought patterns.
Yes, your mind too.
Those top guys mostly will affect the thought patterns. I mean, Sufi, nothing affects his stroke. You know, he was just stroking same all the time. Boom, 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 boom. But the experience didn't affect his stroke. It affected his shot selection, and he made poor choices a lot of time. I mean, he's got himself back to 12-10 there. He's got a push. He's got a push out, or he's got a safety, and he's gone for the cross bank, long bank into the corner. You're only 12-10. You're only 12-10. You might only need one more opportunity, and you could be world champion.
There was a better shot there that probably nobody would have played. He could have crossed the one between the 8 and 7. I think Jeremy had called that. Yeah. But Jeremy had said to leave the cue ball on the end rail, but it's natural on that table to let the cue ball go to the third cushion. There's 2 balls over there, 1 ball off the rail, where you can play like a 3 cushion style safety and really just bury him behind the ball. And that 1 ball is going to get all the way to the opposite end of the table. And, you know, now, like to your point, you're in 1 inning territory. That's whenever I get within like 5 games to finish a set, you know, different players will have a threshold where once they cross that line, they know I'm in 1 inning territory. Yeah. I can win this rack, break and run 2, break and run 3, whatever. I can close the match now. So you have to feel like you're there. You know what I mean? And maybe that was just a little bit of impatience from Sufi. And
he may have only needed one more chance.
Absolutely.
And he didn't give himself the opportunity to get that chance.
Yeah, you can't say he was out with one more chance.
But
there was one thing I did want to say about Francisco now, because he's had such an incredible year. Like, just it's ridiculous, historic, the kind of run he's on. I think he's at a point now where he's habitualized closing and winning. So he's, you know, a lot of times it takes a long time. Like it probably took Francisco a good 8 years of kind of grinding and working, and, you know, maybe a little bit longer to get to the point where he got comfortable. He made a comment during his interview where he said, after Derby, something clicked in my mind that I believed that I can win, because he had some big match wins at Derby. He beat Shane. I think he beat Filler. He beat some class players to make the run that he did. And he's at the point now where he's done it so often, so in such a truncated window, that winning is now a habit for him. And it's just like breathing. And that's when you see guys like a Federer or a Djokovic, or like, you know, they just close, right? And he's at that point now where he's going to be really hard to beat, you know, because he now just believes like, oh, this is what happens. You know, I get to the end, I go through my process, I have my routine, I do my stuff, and I win. So it's getting to that headspace is really hard as a competitor. And I think he's transitioned into a place now where he's just anchored in that identity. And I think it's going to be triple tough. And you have to take those advantages like what Sufi had there and milk them and not succumb to the pressure that he's going to put on you, because he's going to keep putting pressure until somebody brings a skill set or puts him in positions that, you know, teaches him otherwise. But for now on, he's educating right now. So pretty strong.
Boy, the fans sure were behind him.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that was so nice, you know, kind of not unheard of to Jim, but to a lot of us over here in the States, we know who he was.
Yeah.
Well, it was a nice final in that respect, because I don't think anybody really cared who won. You know, there was Fran's a great guy as well. You know, he's one of the nicest guys on tour. And he's having the run of his life at the moment, kind of thing, you know. So if he wins it, you're like, fantastic. If Sufi wins it, also nice guys. What a story, fantastic. So it was always going to be a nice story and a nice final for somebody to win. Anyway.
It was a win-win for the fans.
I mean, would it have been nice? Would it have been nice if some of the Polish players had gotten a little bit further? Of course, that would have been nice for the tournament. But I think the Sufi story kept the Polish fans engaged as well. You know, all the fans that were there stayed engaged with the Sufi story and stuff like that. And I just thought it was a fantastic tournament. Mike, you've not said much. Tell me what you think.
No, I thought, you know, I don't disagree with anything anybody's discussed so far. I mean, you know, Fran's in a different world right now. He's just at a different level. And I think Raymond's 100% right that he's just got this mindset now where, you know, I know what to do in these situations and I know how this is going to go, and just get me close and I'll be there. So, he's definitely there. Sufi, obviously, big story. I would have liked to have seen some of the Polish players get into the semifinals or quarterfinals as well. I think that would have just brought a whole different level of energy. But I thought the energy there was really good. I thought that they did a really nice job. The fans seemed to be engaged. I loved that there were seemed to be a ton of kids in there a lot, which harkens back to the early Mosconi Cup days when there were so many kids who were at the events, and it just adds a whole different element to it. It just makes it more fun. But yeah, it was a terrific tournament. You mentioned Niels. I loved his deep run.
Yeah.
That was great to see. John Mora was another one who really played well.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
play by John.
no reason that he played such a beautiful match against Mario.
Should have probably won against Mario.
Yeah.
That jump shot fluke. Oh my God.
Yeah. And he played so well before that as well. So it was great to see him do well, because he's another guy who works so hard at it. He's worked hard at it for a long time, and
he's had to work doubly hard because he's had to change hands as well.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Crazy.
But for him to beat Jason, he played perfect in that match. He played a great match to beat
Jason left-handed.
He beat Jason left-handed.
But again, Jason break just didn't work for him. He was getting that break that was coming low underneath and spinning underneath the pack. I mean, it looked like he was practicing that little roll-up safe that he scratched on at the end. He went back to the table.
Oh, that was terrible. Yeah.
I'm not sure if he felt it rolled off or not, but even if it didn't, it's a wrong shot. You're Jason Shaw.
Totally.
Cut it in and see what you get.
Right, exactly.
Shane is not playing safe from there.
No,
I can promise you that.
No, not many players are going to play safe on that shot.
Yeah.
So he's picked up the play.
I think that was fatigue. Myself, I do think he was tired.
Perhaps.
Yeah, he had a decent run at Derby too. He was in deep the last few rounds, and then flying over to Poland. It's really tough to put your body through that. You know what I mean? And
it's a choice you make. Going back to the old Derby thing, there's players talking about some. I'm not going to mention any names to anyone under the bus, but if you're on social media saying, "Oh, I was up, I was supposed to play at 4:00 in the morning and then have a match at 9:00 in the morning." Yeah, but they're not both 9-ball.
Well, Francisco,
if you're there for the ranking points, and if you're there to play the ranking, then don't play the other tournament, and then moan afterwards that you're having to play.
Francisco's move, paid dividends. Really, he won the Derby last year. Loves that event, right? And foregoed it. He didn't want to have to put himself through the travel to the U.S. and then on short turnaround travel back to the World 9-ball, and he put himself in chance to win the World 9-ball and did. So. Very smart and pragmatic approach, knowing what his priorities are and knowing this is what I'm here to do, and being kind of single-minded.
Well, I think players like Tyler, who they played in all three events at the Derby and did well in all three events. And I think that one pocket took a little out of him because he was doing so well in it. And then, of course, the late play in the 9-ball. And I think next year you're going to see him not playing in all three events. Yeah,
he forfeited out of a late one pocket match around 11 o'clock in the evening against Tennessee, which likely would have been a 4-hour gauntlet match, because they both it could have been a faster match, but they both play kind of methodical pocket game. And he said, my priority is the 9-ball and the ranking points, and then that's it. So
and this is where pool is going now. There's more and more events, so players are going to start having to pick and choose which events they go to. You're not going to be able. Before it was a case of I'm going to play everything because I have to play everything. Now, there's so much going on. You pick which ones are more important for you. Which you have a proper travel schedule. You really got to look after yourself and have everything organized now. So we're going to see these guys, miss events.
So what's our next event now coming up?
World 10-ball. Las Vegas Open and the World 10-ball
in Vegas. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that's right around the corner here.
Other CSI events, those are coming up.
But for these top guys, I guess that'll be it. They'll have a little break now, and then they'll go for the World 10-ball, and then they come back and they have the Premier League pool and all that. The matchroom events get back in and going again. So it's, other semi-final. I haven't talked about Mario Hay, another good run, another semi-final after losing in the first round as well.
Yeah.
It's a good run for Mario. You know,
he
Mario's
looks so calm when he plays. I just can't get over it.
Yeah, Mario's really putting himself in this kind of like, you know, there's this A1 tier of like Europeans, and then he's kind of like right there, you know, he's like really knocking on that door, you know, and he's very solid, very consistent, and you know, cueing the ball really crisp and clean. Like when you see him get down and come with tough shots, you just hear a very like decisive stroke and very clean, you know, procedure. And he's, you know, giving himself chances. He keeps biting at that cherry. Eventually he's going to get through, you know. I thought that jump fluke against Johnny to make it hill and then escape, you know, that run out was kind of a big deal. I thought, man, that could really put him in spot to win the whole thing, you know.
Yeah, he just got to break through that final hurdle. I mean, he's kind of like where Fran was a couple of years ago, you know, just kind of knocking right outside the top guys. And, you know, I don't know if he's got Francisco's firepower, but he's, you know, he can certainly pull off one of these events. And I think there's a lot of people rooting for him at this point.
I got a question for you, Jim, a little quiz. Out of the top 10 world ranked players, what country is represented by 3 of them?
The top 10.
Country, the top 10 in the world rankings.
It's got to be Austria, no? Albin, Max, and Mario, surely.
Yeah, sure.
You win it. That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rest of the world. The rest of the world's happy that the World Cup of Pool is not a 3-player event.
Well, I mean, you know, we talked about Sufi and what a great, you know, performance he had. You know, I don't think Albin wants to sit there and hear about Sufi a whole hell of a lot more.
No,
because that match that he lost was a tough one to swallow for him. I guarantee it. Sufi played great and took advantage of the opportunities, but you know, there's not too many matches where you get the number of, you know, absolute precious rolls that he got.
I thought Albin's post was really funny. Did you read that, Mike?
No,
I don't think I did.
It was in a show.
He goes, I got 5th place at the World 9 Ball. I'm not sure if I'm happy or upset about it.
But I mean,
he's been so good.
This is, I mean, we talked.
It's like he's another guy who just expects to get there. You know what I mean? So it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I talked about earlier on about, you know, the level that Sufi is in. If you look at Fargo and stuff like that, you know, and he, up until he played against Albin, if you look at Fargo, he's a 50-50 or better against everybody that he played, really, apart from the first round against Snigoki, which will be. So if you are an underdog like that, you know, and myself, I play at a level where, you know, I'll be playing against guys that are like 40 points above me. And I know, you know, when it gets to that is a bit of a gap. So I'm going to need things to go my way. I'm going to need to play well. I'm going to need my opponent to not play well, play average or a little bit.
You just got to come off the stall, Jim. Just come off the stall already.
And you need a bit of luck. You need those 3 things to happen. My God, he got all 3 of them in spades in that match against Albin. I mean, he had the luck. He played some sensational shots, and Albin's head was in bits for the entire match.
And
it's just his time, you know. It's
all this. And also, he looked like there was
everything happened. It was crazy.
He also looked like there was never any pressure on him. I mean, he was the loosest looking guy I've ever seen. It wasn't that fake loosey-goosey where you're trying to smile and laugh things up, whatever. He was as loose as they come. But let me ask you this, and you guys, you know, are Jim and Ray are both, you know, really high quality rotation players. Given his style and watching him, certainly he plays at this level Fargo wise, and he does well in Europe and plays well, but not winning Euro tours. Is this lightning in a bottle, or is this likely to be the start of some consistency in performance?
Yeah.
Because to me, I mean, as the average fan kind of watching, you look at him, you go, okay, you know, these things are going to cost him more times than he's going to get away with them. So what are your thoughts on that as far as his
not a flash in the pan, I don't think. I think he's just getting going.
Jim?
I'll let Raymond go first.
Well, I think it's I think that's entirely up to him. You know, if he's gonna, I think it's hard to win tournaments playing his style and overwhelm everybody because the class of the offensive game is so high across the board that to out offense people like Fran and Filler and Jason and Shane is unrealistic. So I think it's an opportunity for him to reflect and say, okay, what were the positions that I gave up empty innings on, and how could I have approached them differently? It's hard when you're kind of like so geared one way naturally, you know what I mean, to get away from who you are. You don't want to do that either. But I think if he focuses on his process of improvement, and working on the areas that can get better, I think he could have success. He's obviously done regionally well in the German Bundesliga, and they, players know him, and he has some clout there. And I think, it's tough to say how he'll respond with the opportunity, because now he's got the opportunity to go out there and really do well. We've seen some guys come in and have kind of spurts of that, and then kind of like hover and not really improve, and then go kind of back into like the pack, So, that's entirely up to him, his work ethic, what he wants to do. It's hard to want to maybe he's got all the talent in the world to be a champion. You know what I mean? He's obviously showed mettle and heart and intangibles, which I think you can't teach. And the fact that he was able to be calm in the highest pressure situation bodes well for him, because that means those intangibles he has. And there's some people that don't have that, and they have to be coached and worked up in that, you know what I mean? So he already has that, which is a wonderful place to start. And he's got competitive mettle. Now it's like, okay, let's get back to figure out what separates me from the other guys, and how can I minimize that gap and give myself another chance to show that heart and resolve and strength that he obviously has. So we'll see.
I mentioned at the start, he's like Omar 2.0, same kind of thing happened with Omar. He's come from a little bit further out of nowhere. Omar was still a seasoned professional, if you want to call it that, where people still knew who Omar was. Do I see him breaking through and becoming one of the top guys in the game? No, I don't think so. I don't think his technique is sustainable enough for that. And he played really loose there. He played like he was loving it. He's really enjoying it. And he was able to perform. You called it lightning in a bottle. I think all the planets aligned for him in so many different ways. The draw, the guys he's playing against are thinking I'm 50-50. Like I'm thinking 50-50. He's enjoying it. The other guys are thinking, oh, this is my chance. This is my chance. I don't think he cares about being a professional pool player as much as a lot of the other guys that he played against. His life is in a good place at the moment compared to where it was not so long ago. Does he want to now become a professional pool player? Does he? These are all questions he has to ask himself. Once you're playing as a professional and it becomes your career, it makes a difference in your bank account. It's the only thing that makes a difference in your bank account. You give up your job to put all your eggs into that one basket, which is kind of what you need to do if you want to make it as a professional in the game nowadays. Does he still enjoy the game as much the way he did playing in that tournament at the World Championships? Is it still as much fun? Can he still perform? Or does the pressure then, is there the financial pressure? Is the career pressure? Can he handle that? These are all questions that I think the Premier League pool and he'll know more about himself after the Premier League pool and the World Pool Masters than he has learned about himself in the Masters, because he'll go to them as a professional pool player. He went to the World Championships as an amateur who had got a place in the World Pool Championships and enjoyed every single moment of it, and caught lightning in a bottle for a week. That's not his future in the game. You can't have that as your future in the game, because it just doesn't happen. So he'll learn a lot more about himself. We'll learn a lot about him as well. And these coming tournaments. He's got some money in his bank account now where he can turn around and say, okay, I want to invest a little bit in my future as a pool player.
Sure.
I would assume the rest of it goes to, his life in general.
Yeah, sponsoring too,
He will. I imagine he's already on Predator's books, but I imagine that's just a case of we give you a couple of cues now and again. Yeah. I think that contract is going to get renegotiated pretty quickly as well. or somebody else comes knocking on his door. He's going to be in the biggest televised events. The Premier League pool. He's going to be playing a load of matches in that.
But I think now, like he's from where? Kuwait? Or no, Saudi Arabia.
Syria.
Okay, so Syria. I wonder how close him and Al Yusuf and Bader and those guys are. Like Team Poland is.
He knows
doing
them all.
Right?
He knows all of them.
He seems to know them pretty well based on his interactions
exactly.
at the event.
Al Ghamdi was in that photo with him too, the young kid. Yeah. So, like, they should all be working, and I'm sure they are together pretty closely, just like the Polish contingent are.
Absolutely.
I think that's how you refine yourself and you hold yourself to a higher kind of caliber, and then some good coaching. I think somebody had mentioned in the chat that he needs more player development. I agree. I think a lot of people that are one-dimensional can catch lightning in a bottle, one tournament. You know what I mean? If things go their way, but you 100 times. How many times can you go there with just a sharp sword and no shield? So you have to work on building out the other parts of the game and. But I mean, again, I think he has intangibles and he has a chance to do something now. He has an opportunity, which is all you could ask for, really. And
he's going to get his share of opportunities now.
Yeah.
And this is interesting to see. Now he's not sneaking up on anybody. Now there's going to be expectations on him. He's going to have expectations on himself. And how frustrated will he be if it doesn't go really well in Premier like it did for Max when Max finally got the door open for him and went to Premier League pool and was a disaster. You wonder how that's gonna, how he does he have the mettle to fight through that and
that's
get better. We've made
great format. That's a round robin, right?
Yeah, right. And so we talked about there's been a lot of comparisons to Omar, not just because they're both from the Middle East, but the same charisma, the same catching lightning in a battle, but. Let's be honest, we haven't heard a lot from Omar in the last couple
exactly.
Years since he got to where he was. So,
exactly.
It's a, I think everybody wishes well for the kid because he brought a lot of charisma and a lot of interest into that event. It's just going to be interesting to see how dedicated he is to the process.
I just love again he's getting this opportunity. I mean, it's just so good for the Matchroom model.
Oh, awesome.
That all of a sudden, one guy can come and play two events. That's all he's done. He played the European Open, got to the last 16. That got him enough points to get an invite to the World Championships. And now he's in the Premier League pool and the World Pool Masters. Two events.
Right. Here's an idea.
The Matchroom model has given somebody from nowhere, out of nowhere, in two events, he's a star. I mean, this is just perfect. This is perfect for the whole thing. It's I love it. Great.
I think as Matchroom... I think as Matchroom continues to build out these like big regional kind of like centers of professional pool, there should be subdivisions in there that are feeders to those events that could add money and give opportunities for regional amateurs, kind of like in that vein. Somebody like a Sufi, somebody who's we don't get to see very much on the international stage, maybe doesn't have the support, but they can win a qualifier or win points and get into, now it's kind of like creating a feeder system for these bigger events. I think that would be the expansion on what Matchroom is creating on the higher end with the Balkan Tour, the Asian Tour, the European stuff, and here in the US, as those kind of become more defined and more kind of finished regional tours that are have quality players in them, around the US and around Europe, whatever. People could win satellite spots into those bigger events when they win one of these events and then help cover expenses and, do that kind of stuff. And I think that's how you kind of like create the throughput. So yeah, it's exciting.
It's going to put these top players who are already established in the game. It's going to put them in, There's going to be a little bit of a poke in the back to those guys as well to say, listen, you can't rest on your laurels here. You guys are going to have to keep performing because we've got a whole group of guys here that we've just opened the doors for who are coming in. They're dying for your spots.
Well, I mean, him getting invited to the World Pool Masters had to cost somebody.
It's cost somebody a spot. Yeah.
It cost somebody. And it could have been Vader. It could have been Al Youssef. It could have been someone who, had him on their shoulder 5 days ago and now thinking, I'm not carrying that guy around anymore.
There's 2 wildcard spots. Who do we think are getting them then? I've got to say Sky is going to get one of them, surely.
Do we have the list?
I don't know. I mean, what did Sky not come into the World Pool Championship? How much, did that cost them in
okay, there's a difference between not coming and and not being able to.
I understand. I understand, but we've seen it before. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I got a question for the players here. That's Jim and Raymond. Both of you guys play in some bigger events. And would you rather, I know I get unnerved a little bit when I play somebody who's extra slow when they play. How do you feel about that? If you had your druthers between playing somebody who was just very, very slow player or somebody like Sufi who just fires the balls in, boom, boom, boom. How do you guys feel? You or Raymond feel about that, Jim?
I'd rather play Sufi. I'd rather play Sufi than a slow player. I hate playing slow players.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty methodical overall, and so if I play somebody who plays fast, that's a matchup that I want because I feel like I can break them down. Especially if I have control of the table. So I think that's an advantageous matchup for me. I don't really care so much. I've played like really fast players, like Ignacio. I played him one time, and he was one guy that I have a bookmark in my brain of like, my God, this guy plays so fast. And I caught myself wanting to try and keep up with him. And I got to remember, like, hey, I'm not playing Jeffrey Ignacio's pace. I'm going to play my pace. And we kind of split some games early on. And I was like, I had to give myself a mantra, like my table, my pace, my table, my pace, like stay in your zone that feels comfortable for you and don't try and rush and catch up. And I think, the fast players tend to want to put a lot of pressure on people with that. And so, I think inexperienced players will rush and want to try and keep up there. There's some insecurity about not playing as fast as like a filler, but like nobody does really. There's like Luke Salvis, you know what I mean? Like these guys that run around. Sufi's very fast player, but Alex plays, I think, a appropriate pace. He's more methodical, right? And he has now beaten filler 3 times in a row. Federer is triple consistent and doesn't really play a super, super quick clip. So I don't think it's necessary. I think some people get uncomfortable when they have to play and forced to think and play against somebody like a Suke but over the long haul, like my favorite player 9-ball ever is Buddy Hall. And when he was in control, they called it slow death. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to suffocate and drown under the weight of this pressure. It's a different kind of pressure, and it kills people who want to go, but they feel like they're spinning tires in the dirt, and then all of a sudden the transmission falls off and they're just like crumbled into ash. And to me, that's very satisfying. So,
yeah.
I don't know if so. One thing I've noticed, and this might just be in my head, that this is for Raymond. When you're playing a fast player, if you're on your chair and they're playing and they're getting in a rhythm, they look at you, whereas slow players don't. They'll hit their shot and they'll be walking around the table and they'll look at you to see if you're appreciating or watching them, or to see how you are in your chair. A slow player, very methodical player, they are very concentrated in just on their own table. I see a lot of fast players, they'll get up off the shot and they'll just sort of glance over at you kind of thing. So fast players I kind of try and ignore. I don't want to look at them kind of thing.
Right. Absolutely not. No, it's funny. And I think there's a little bit of peacocking that goes on. Want to
exactly.
They have maybe a more natural bravado. They want to wear a T-shirt that says Vince on it, and all this kind of stuff. So it's like whatever, It doesn't bother me at all. Like I just whatever. So it's kind of funny, but I think guys like that play fast, they kind of get their rocks off of being able to kind of impose themselves on you. And I think that's a weakness. I think it's good. It works. It looks nice and it's flashy. It's fun when they have control, when they can impose themselves, they can they can run over you maybe. But when you start taking that away from them, you take away their toy, the thing that they like to do, and force them to get down and like engage now with the tactics, engage with you on a deeper level. That's not what they're interested in. They want to push you over. They want to, done and dust you. And I know you, but that can really start to, put pressure on them mentally, get frustrations. You are seeing some hissing and some cues being tested against the rail. Structural integrity of carbon fiber shafts is always fun to gauge across different manufacturers. So it's like, it's whatever. I think it's something to think about. Obviously, like, even playing like Skylar. Skylar's a very, very fast player, very quick player. He wants to get going, and if you can kind of stem that initial outburst from him and make him engage with you, you give yourself a better chance, I think. And it's really about keeping control, however you want to do it, whether it's fast or slow.
I really like to see in this tournament the respect, camaraderie type respect between the players. When you see it in three-question a lot, when somebody gets lucky and slops a shot in, they immediately acknowledge that they have just gotten lucky. Yeah. And I saw that quite a few times in this tournament throughout. And it was all the players really that when that happened, they immediately would tap their stick on the table or acknowledge or look over at their opponent and say, hey, yeah, I realized what just happened. I got a little lucky. And
it is the easiest thing to do, though, is to put your hand up and go, yeah. Sorry. It's not the easiest thing to do, to sit in your seat and look as if you're accepting that as an apology. Yeah. Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah. Thanks for apologizing.
Yeah. Good luck with the next one.
The putting your hand up and saying sorry, that's the easy bit. Not throwing your chop from your chair.
That's the other guy for just getting lucky. Yeah, no, I hear you. But it is kind of a mutual respect thing, I think, and certainly some places, sometimes you don't acknowledge it, and that is just fine because that's cool. It's the way it is. It's the way the balls roll sometimes.
I kind of see both sides of it because I don't see a lot of Filipinos go through that because I think they in my sense, I'm like, look, I got a roll. This is just part of the game. Like, I'm going to get a roll. Like, I try never to get too upset about a lucky shot. For me, it's like, well, it happened in this crucial match. It cost me this match, but I know over the next 100 innings that I'm going to play, I'm going to get my fair share of those, and it's just gonna happen that way. So I try not to like, oh, I'm so sorry that I'm like, because I'm not, it's just like I try to disregard it when it happens to me. Somebody gets a roll on me, and I try not to put too much stow in it, even though it might the impulse.
Most of the time, it's just a quick little.
Yeah, but some people don't.
Think as a player, you want to get overly apologetic either, because you got lucky. You got to go up and hit the next shot straight in. So you don't want to dwell on it. You don't want to be apologetic. You just
never feel guilty. Never feel guilty about getting 100%. A good roll. No.
I have a friend of mine, a buddy of mine, who said that his pool was to be playing like Earl Strickland in like a double hill ESPN like Challenger Champions match, and to like fram at an 8-ball, like completely butcher it, rattle it, goes in another corner, and he gets straight in on the 9, and then turn to the camera and be like, yeah, baby, and then pound the 9. I'm just like, what a jerk. Some people have different takes on the whole. He sees blood in the water. He's like a shark with blood in the water. Whenever that happens, he gets.
Okay, so we've been going for an hour. We've been pretty positive, Mike.
I think so.
Anything you would change if you were given the option for, let's say, there's the next World Championship is next week, and all you've got to work with is what happened this world. Anything you would change?
I've said it before, and I don't know. I could actually probably argue it both ways. I'm not crazy about single elimination at 64. I think that's a shade early. Win 2 matches and you're in single elimination. I like to see people fight a little bit more. I used to like when it was 16. You get the single elimination at 16. You got to battle your way to that 16. I think 64 is a little cheap, but by the same token, someone tells me, no. Tennis, there's no sport other than pool that does double elimination, period. So, why do we do it? Well, we always did it because it was a good mechanism for promoters and for players to get a little extra playing time, promoters to keep people around for a couple more days, all that kind of stuff. It was never because it was the fairest way to do things. It was just opportunity. So, I wish, to me, 64 is a little bit early based on pool history, but I could see the argument that it doesn't make sense to start with. So that doesn't answer your question at all, but it's an interesting topic conversation.
I mean, just this World Championships, if you were to do it like tennis, to say you're going from 128 and you're going straight down to 1 with no double elimination, Mario Hay and Sufi are out in the first round. You don't have the stories.
Well, you get other stories. I mean,
you have other stories.
There would be other stories,
I mean,
of course. But I mean, the only way you can do that too, though, is to make sure that the races are fair enough. And 11's pretty. 11's pretty fair. If you start.
I could also imagine if you went to double elimination to 16, you're probably adding at least 2 more days to the tournament because they were only playing with 16 tables. If they've got 32 tables. It's
hey,
scheduling stuff like that.
I've talked about it before. I would love to see, we've had discussions I've written about majors, how a sport needs a set number of majors that are your 4 pinnacle events.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to all be identical. They're not identical in golf. They're not identical in tennis. There's nuanced differences. There's little differences. I would love to see one of the events go double elimination all the way to the Final Four and just make it this grueling event that you have, and start with races to 11, and like the old U.S. Opens. I mean, those were double elimination all the way through the event, and the guys who won those knew that they had faced down the best players in the toughest conditions that there were. So I don't want them all to be like that, but I wouldn't mind if one of them was like that. I think that would be kind of cool. You could play down to the Final Four double elimination and then basically have a step ladder, what in bowling they call it step ladder final. You get to the final 4 plays 3, 3 plays 2, the winner plays 2, the winner plays 1, and you're done.
That'd be cool.
So things like that I'd like to see, but what do you think on it, Ray?
Yeah, I think I like your point that, you win 2 matches and you're in the final 4. So it feels a little cheap, harder to qualify in, and makes it I think the better tournament. And it's hard to get down. I think they do final 16, right? If I'm not mistaken. So, and we had I think it's a 128 player bracket as well. So I like that.
The US Open's now 256 and they go down to 64 for the single.
It was 256. Yeah. That's why.
So they've got double the amount of players, but they still do single elimination from the 64.
So in this format, then Mike's point to single elimination at final 16 probably is the same, just scaled down, an extra 2 rounds. So I think that's good. Yeah, I like the idea of really earning that qualification. And I think to your point, if you ever go single elimination, the money has to be way better. You know what I mean?
That was part of it.
There's
too.
reasons why
you don't want your number 1 seed to go out in the first round, and and there's no payoff at all. So so there's things that would have to be tinkered with, but I like to see it a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, I agree.
I like the idea of I mean, for me, I don't really mind double elimination to 16 or to 64 or whatever, or 256 to 64 or 128 to 32 maybe. Don't really mind either way, but I do like the idea of them all being different, not just in location. If you've got 4 majors, it should be more than just location that changes.
Yeah, the U.S. Open, the U.K. Open, and the Asian Open are all cookie cutter tournaments. Then they're just tour stops to me.
Exactly. You've made a decision to stick with 9 ball, so you haven't left yourself any variety there. Then you have to create a variety within the structure of your tournaments in order to make them all individual tournaments. Right. And I like the idea of that. Why not have one that's double elimination all the way? Why not have one that's a little bit Derby City kind of thing? You all just go back into the pot. And you make one of a war of attrition, make one a speed pool. It's all about get the shot clock down to 20 seconds or whatever, or come up with something to make the tournaments all a bit more individual kind of thing, rather than, I mean, we're going to have the UK Open, the US Open, the European Open. There's going to be an English Open. I'm assuming they're all going to start on 256. What's different other than where they're being held?
Yeah. Well, with the 256, it becomes a little harder to tinker too much with the format because you have so many players.
Yeah.
But I think your big majors, if they were all the top 128 players, that's what you started with, I think that would be cool too. But it's a lot of tinkering, obviously, with it. But I would like to see this sport get to a point where even if it's just within 9 ball. get to a point where there is a Grand Slam, and it's
where is it? Where is our grand? What would you consider it to be at the moment?
Well, I don't. I've talked about this before. I don't right now. I'm not 100% sure what it would be because if you stuck just with 9-ball, I would say the U.S. Open, the World Pool Championship. I would say the International, just because it's different and it's been around a little bit. The main thing you got to do is make sure that these events happen every year. Mm-hmm. That's why I wouldn't include like the World 10-ball, World 8-ball. World 8-ball was the first time in 10 years last year, right? So you've got to have they've all got to be, dependable events. So if you stuck with 9-ball, I would say International, U.S. Open, World Pool Championship, and say the Asian Open, just so you have one on each continent, right? Each of your 3 main continents. That's assuming that they're going to do an Asian Open every year. That to me would be that would be cool because in all sports, majors are what defines careers. It's not how many Illinois Opens did you win in the golf tour. It's how many majors did you win, and that should be the thing. And it's majors has always been this really like out there term. I mean, I saw an ad congratulating Fran. He talked about all the majors he won last year, and they had the Euro Tour in there. I'm saying, sorry, not a major. Yeah.
So you just get Mike Panozzo a shirt that says hashtag not a major.
100%.
And then a list of all the tournaments that he's already quoted as saying they're not majors. Euro Tour, Derby City Classic.
That got me into some soup, but whatever.
What's hilarious about the Derby one was that Mike said it, and then they had a follow-up show on another podcast saying it again, and then there was another interview with the head of the Derby saying it's not a major. And it was and I was just like, man. And then
Melina Mike
stirring the pot.
You know what, Panozzo? It's not a major.
Yes, that's all you had to do was go to this year, and I could have collected a lot of money. But no, it's not to trash one event. It's just to have something. Sport has to have something special, something identifiable to people outside of the sports. Everybody's resume. If you look at it now, everybody will give you a resume who's played for more than 10 years. And they've each won 97 majors and 43 world championships. Right. It sounds silly.
To answer Epic Gamer 13, yes, Chad lives in my neighborhood. I know him very well. Just one of the local players.
Yeah. Okay. As far as what I would change for the World 9-ball, I don't know. I think it's hard. It's invite only. So, you got to get in, you got to get the rankings and all that stuff. So that puts the onus on the players to get out there and qualify and make it so they can get a shot at it. Yeah. I would take away the vagary of the soft break. I think it's a small nuance. You know what I mean? I think at this point with the new rule format, the template, the 9 on the spot, and I think that kind of cures all. And players will kind of gravitate towards an optimum break format and see what's working and what's not. And then I would just figure out a way to add money to it and, increase the pays fund. That I'm sure will come with time as well. But as far as like how the players did everything, I thought they did well. And I thought Matchroom organized and ran the event. Ran pretty smoothly. I don't know of any real hiccups or anything like that. Much better than last year's kind of slug out grind fest when they had the triangle. So yeah, I think it's all headed in the right direction. So it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Also Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, I think it's
here. I got a comment for. Sorry, I was looking up when I was looking through the world rankings. This is directed at Raymond. I ran across your name in the world rankings, Raymond.
Did you?
Yes, I did. And alongside your name, there was the name of a international woman player. Fantastic. Who has the exact same world ranking as you. I want you guys to guess who that is. You are ranked 176th in the world, by the way. And this
I didn't know that. Thank you for that.
Appreciate this female player is ranked 176th in the world.
In the female game?
No, this is all the players included. She's ranked. This is against the males and the females.
She must have played in some of the open events, or could be Christina or Margaret or something.
Margaret? Is it Margaret?
No, it's not.
Pia? Somebody said Pia.
No, it's not.
No, I don't know.
Ruth McGinnis.
Won't be Kelly. No, it won't be Kelly. She's higher, I guess.
No, that's who it is.
Wait, is it Kelly Fisher?
Yes, it is. She's ranked 176th in the world.
I will take a.
I've always kind of put Ray and Kelly kind of on the same. I
was going to say, you tell Raymond's ranked the same. Raymond and Kelly. Yeah, Raymond and Kelly.
She earns a lot more money than I do. I promise you that.
Flip it. I was going to say, flip it. I'll take Kelly.
Yeah, I need a small spot, but can I play her 10 ball? I just want to play her 10 ball. That's it.
Yeah. So we had on the podcast. No, I didn't look up your ranking, Jim, world ranking, and I should have. But
don't bother. You'll have to. You'll be searching a long time.
No, I don't think so. I think it's in there. Demetrius Gelatis, one of the other fellows on the podcast, he's ranked 155th in the world. Awesome. So just a touch.
But where are you,
Kelly and Raymond.
Where are you finding these rankings?
I on Matchroom has them.
Oh, I'm not on the Matchroom one.
Oh, okay.
No, won't find me on there. No. So sorry, Mike, I cut you off there before Rob started talking about how terrible Kelly is apparently.
You're saying how good of a player I am.
I'm sure I lost
how amazing Raymond is. Sorry.
I'm sure I lost my train of thought since then. If it was more than 30 seconds ago, I've got no chance of remembering what it was. But I appreciate you letting me back in.
I'm going to ask Kelly.
Then I'll go echoing kind of the same kind of thing. I thought, they've so whatever issues they've had every single event, it seems they find a solution for the next event, and they've done it again, which is fantastic. A couple of things that just from a viewer watching, I don't like that you can. I mean, it's only one referee. I mean, John Lehman. All you can hear when he's refereeing is him breathing through the microphone. So do something about that. Put the microphone somewhere else. Stick one of the fluffy things on it so it's, find a way to dampen that.
Engineers. They have people who work the booth and that's all them. They can all trim down.
Yeah, get that sorted out, because that's really annoying. That they
can put a low pass.
As soon as he starts walking around the table, all you can hear is. I mean, it's not his fault. I mean, put the microphone or do something with it to sort that out. That needs to be sorted out. And I don't know what music they were playing in the arena, but it sounded like there was an ice cream van in there continuously playing that little ding, 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 ding.
They feel like they're in the Matrix or something.
That was kind of goofy, that music.
Yeah, and it was continuous as well, so I'm not entirely sure what that was.
Well, that was probably for the YouTube stream stuff, because it's royalty-free music. And
they have such a tough time with music because of rights and all that stuff. Yeah. It's a shame.
But there's playlists and stuff that you can get that are royalty free that you can license into.
Yeah, I use them when I'm streaming as well, or I used to, but now I just turn the sound off because I want to listen to music.
I remember the one thing I was going to mention, Jim, and that is that I do like that Matchroom has kind of settled into this format template. 9 on the spot, the break box. Let's toss out the arbitrary, refereeing, telling you when to play card. And if they could just do that, I would challenge pool fans to spend the rest of the year not commenting on the format and just let it play out and see what happens at the end of the year. This changing stuff wanting stuff to change every event gets to be a little bit much. So it would be really cool if everybody could just chill for the next 8 months, 9 months, and let's see where the event's taken. At the end of the year, if all the players are up in arms that it's broken again and needs to be fixed, we'll deal with it then. But give it a couple months, please.
Exactly. Everybody's been asking for standardization, consistency and standardization of the game. To have that, somebody has to make a decision on this is what we're going to do. Now, Matchroom have made that decision. This is what we're going to do. Just let's play it like that. That's what you've asked for. You've asked for standard because nobody.
And not only that, they've moved.
I want standardization, and I want to be the one to decide what it is. Yeah. That's not going to happen.
They've also moved in a direction that the players requested as well. Like they listened to
this came from the players.
Yeah, so the players wanted the break box. They wanted the 9 on the spot. They wanted the template. They didn't want the 3-point rule. They got rid of the 3-point rule. All that stuff has been directly feedback from the high-end players. You know what I mean?
To me, the only thing left to do to me is get rid of the arbitrary referee decisions on breaking speed.
Yeah.
Sure.
Even the top players who didn't want to move the 9 to the spot, who wanted the 1 to be on the spot, they still said, yeah, but for the game, for me, it's better the 1 on the spot, but for the game, it's better the 9 on the spot. So fair play to those guys. I mean, Shane was one of those guys. He would have loved the 1 to stay on the spot, but he was honest enough to turn and say, yes, but for the game, you're better off having the 9 there. Okay. Yeah. You know, it's they all know it. The players know it. So for Joe Blogs out in the bumhole of nowhere to turn around and think that he knows better than the top players in the game, what's better for, you know, let them do it. They've got this there. Yes, it's not perfect. We've talked about the brake rule, the speed rule, or whatever, or the you know, that's still up for discussion. I personally, like I said before, I think that'll disappear because the players that are having the success are the ones that are not breaking 50%. They're hitting it properly. You know, they're hitting it the way Matchroom and the way we want to see it being hit, and they're being successful. So I assume that the majority of players will start to do the same. You know, and we get rid of any soft breaking. I thought it was a great event. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It had everything you need for.
Is it rewatchable now? Is it rewatchable now? Like if you want to go back and
yes, you can see it all back on YouTube.
On DAZN, you can rewatch at least the matches they cover.
DAZN and on the Matchroom Live thing, you can get it all back. I think.
Yeah, because I've seen in the past on DAZN that sometimes the tournament matches that were aired kind of go away. So I don't know if that goes and transfers over to Matchroom Live or what. So for US fans, it would be interesting to see if they can go back and watch. I'd love to not be having to watch through a paywall. So I watched on the YouTube stuff quite a bit, and I enjoyed that, and I thought it was quality as well. You know what I mean? Like you said, the commentary was great. So that's good that they kind of extended the coverage to table 2 and 3 on the 2. They had one on the Matchroom Multisport.
Right.
Yes. Multisport and the Matchroom pool. Yeah. And hats off to Matchroom. It had everything that we can call it a major. I think it had everything that a major should have.
I give it I get a major's thumbs up to this.
Yes.
The World 9 Ball Championship will not be on the back of his not a major shirt.
No, not at all. No.
Let me ask you this, Jim, what do you think on the future of the World Championship? I mean, I thought the Polish Federation did a great job. Is the World Championship someplace you'd like to see have a permanent home, or is it someplace you'd like to see move from continent to continent in alternate years?
I think, personally, in the beginning, if Matchroom have the possibility to move as many of their tournaments around as possible, you know, I understand, you know, they go into things, you'll do a contract for 3 years for like they did with Gibraltar for the Masters and stuff like that, and I bet it's coming back to the UK. I'd like to see them take their events initially to more countries and test the waters and give the fans in those other countries the chance to get involved, you know, to see it coming to them. You know, it's not too difficult to do. You know, they made a good choice with Poland. There's a lot of good Polish players, top Polish players in the game. So they know there's going to be a fan base there that are going to come to watch their guys, you know. Going to Fulda with Filler and Torsten and Ralph. And the huge federation that the Germans have, they know that fans are going to come and watch it. They could do the same in Spain. I would like to see them do an event in Spain. You know, they don't have to create more events. They can take these events and go to different countries and promote the sport throughout all these different countries. Some people will say that a world championship should be held in a different place every year because it's a world championship. If you look at snooker, the world championship's been in the same little theater
forever
for 40 years, you know, and it's been a success. The US Open, as long as, I mean, the home of a tournament, a US Open, its home will be in the US. Do you want it to be in Atlantic City forever? I hear some people complaining about Atlantic City. They don't like it. They think it's a terrible venue. They think it's a terrible place to go to. I haven't been to. I really don't know. The Moscone Cup seems to stay in Vegas. You know, I mean, is that its home?
That there's something to be said for developing a fan base in the same place year after year. That's how you build, you know, to me, repeat fans. You know, the U.S. Open, I have no problem staying in Atlantic City since the Moscone's always in Vegas. You know, and you talk about the embassy, you know, the snooker championship, all that stuff. there's an argument made both ways. I'd like to see them move tournaments into new countries and develop new countries, but I think there's something to be said for keeping some events in the German Open. Keep it in Fulda as long as you want to keep it in Fulda. Because that's the way you get people demanding to go to it the next time it's in town. I'm not going to miss it.
But you've called it, then call it the German Open, and keep it in Fulda.
Yeah,
not the European Open.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. I like the UK Open stays in UK. But there's going to be an English Open as well. So then you've got two big Open tournaments in the UK. Take the World Cup of Pool and go out somewhere else. Take the Masters and go somewhere else. I mean, if you've got say 10 big events in a year, spread the wealth, spread the love throughout as many places as you can. Is my opinion.
I did want to Open, Ray.
Yeah, well, I have some kind of some long. Well, actually, yes. There's a pool room in Zingales that's just going to get all new diamonds that they're waiting on to be installed and stuff. And they're probably been the best pool room for action, and they have the most space that would be available for like a big matchroom event. And I reached out to him as soon as he got the tables because I wanted to see what pocket size they were to see if they met matchroom spec, because I would love to help produce a Florida Open to add to the matchroom schedule, because it's a nice location too at the top of the Panhandle that would bring in players from Alabama, players from Mississippi, players from Texas and Louisiana, all pretty close. And it's close enough to Central Florida where a lot of the top players would definitely go. Yeah, definitely. And then I have some long-term ideas and plans that would help, I think, as well too. But that is down the line. I don't want to talk about it now. But I'd love to see more stuff in the States. I'd love to see more venues. I get a little tired of the casino thing, because it's kind of like there is this wonderful pool tournament here, and then there's this big to sink money into and all this other stuff. So I think venues that are more viewer friendly and kind of stuff like this would be a possible direction to go in, and just finding space like that. I think even like the guy who runs the Derby had mentioned in his interview with Molina, he was talking about that, we're kind of at a capacity right now with this casino situation. We have limitations that are inherent, and that if he could put another 40 tables in there, he would, and he'd open the fields even more, and it would be, more cost effective for people. Maybe payouts would get bigger. So I don't know.
Yeah.
As far as like if let's say we're using the matchroom rankings and stuff like that purely as a Mosconi selection.
Yeah.
I mean, the situation in Europe is slightly different as the situation in the United States. Do you think it would be beneficial for there to be some sort of ranking scheme within the USA that excludes anyone from playing in it who is not a USA representative? Do you think you'd encourage more players in? No. You talk about we talk about the players having the opportunity now with matchroom. I still feel a little bit in the USA. I mean, it's still a massive country. You have a tournament in Florida. It's not really catering for the entire USA, because there's still a massive amount of the country who's going to turn around and say that's still too far away for me. It's not as
sure.
Well,
I think
do you think more USA players would take the risk to get involved?
Yeah,
if it was only against other USA players.
I think it's a two-part thing. I think having matchroom ranking events is going to get more players to want to go to those events, and I think having more events in Europe is going to make it easier for the Europeans to forego some of the US events, which will make it easier to get a more accurate reflection of the American talent. Because a lot of times you have guys that get lost in the weeds a little bit going up against Mario and Max Lechner and these guys who are chasing events and chasing points. And they're having close fights and close matches, or maybe even, beating them here and there. But, it's harder to make a true deep run into what's happening on the American side of things when you have a lot of kind of coming over and attaching themselves to certain ranking events. So I think now that Matchroom has more events here in the US, I know Jason's going to have an event. I'm going to probably go to his room. I'm going to go to the Virginia and the Mason Shuney event as well. So I'll be there for both of those. I think Oscar said today he's going to go to the Masons event in Boston. So, more of that is good. I think the Sandcastle Open last year, we had a few guys that were, it was kind of more of an American style field. So you got to see some guys like Greg Hogue get through, and, you know, Daya get through from Philadelphia. I think I finished 5th in that event. Like, you know, you saw a little bit more of what the Americans look like. Guys like BJ Ussery, guys like Anthony Maglino, guys like, you know,
Donnie Mills played well there.
Donnie Mills, I had a conversation with him. I heard him talk with Jeremy. He wants to make it to the European events, and he's in a position now that he can go do that. And he wants to kind of get on the list for those. So he's somebody to look out for, because he's got a diamond table at home, playing all the time, obviously making deep runs and winning matches. You know, he had a really close match with Kopin at a 10-ball event in Vegas. And since then, he's really, you know, he's kind of become
got a good derby run.
Top 8 along with Tyler and you know, a couple guys. He actually beat Tyler in that event, gave Tyler his first loss. So, you know, Donnie's playing really good. Him and I have had sessions where I go over to his place and we'll play like 9-hour sessions of just races to 9 or 11 9-ball stuff. And it's you know, it's great to have somebody like that close, but he's in a position where he can work from his phone. You know, he buys and sells cars at auction all the time. So literally he's on his phone all the time. He just, bought another car, goes to the, you know, they go pick it up at the auction after it gets accepted. And, you know, it's off into the lot for his people to run the business. So he's in a good spot, somebody to watch compete. And yeah, you know, I think it's a twofold question. So, you know, more European events means you'll see maybe less of the European guys here, as long as, you know, if they're going to come over anyways for like to go to the US Open, then you're going to see everybody here in like October or September, whenever they have it. There's like a 3 or 4 week stretch where there's like big tournament after big tournament, you know, people get ready. So, but we just need more events, I think, throughout the Texas Open. There's no reason why that shouldn't be on the Matchroom points list. And I'd love to have a Florida Open, a California Open. You know, Oscar could do something at his pool room. I know Jason Shaw's going to do something at his pool room in Connecticut. So it doesn't take a lot. You know, we saw Turning Stone finally get added to the points list. So, yeah.
Okay.
Pool is headed in the right direction, fellas.
I'm loving it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think I got one more thing. One more thing I just want to throw in. It was a question that came up in the chat. We can discuss it or not. I don't really care. All I've heard is rumors. Filler playing with a carbon shaft. Is that a talking point or not?
Apparently, he doesn't like talking about it. So I don't know who else.
That's kind of what's made it a talking point. When he gets asked why he's playing with a carbon shaft, and his answer is no comment. Yeah. Is there something to it? The rumors that are going around that
he's probably getting
maybe pressured into playing with the Revo.
Yeah, maybe he's getting extra incentive from Predator to play with Revo. I mean, who knows? I mean, he never missed a ball for, you know, a year and a half with his his wood shaft or whatever, and he's missing certain balls that I see him miss the ball, and I'm like, oh, that's a deflection issue, or that's a, you know what I mean? There's an adjustment period, you know what I mean? And little touch shots, like he buried that long 4-ball against Alex, but overran position and slid underneath it. Now it wasn't he didn't see the ball, you know? So it's kind of like there's little things like that aren't even necessarily about making the ball. It's more about pocket speed and cue ball speed, and that touch that gets ingrained over, you know, 1,000 hours of playing with a piece of equipment. Sure. So yeah, who knows? That's up to them to discuss. If he doesn't want to discuss it, then, you know, I don't care really, but people just
like it when Matchroom has these match stats after the matches and compares, you know, the break and runs, the balls potted and all. That's really cool to have that on there. There was one match in particular that I noticed. It was Zelensky when he lost Chang. Every single category was identical in that match. And it was a close match. It was a great match, except for one. And that was the safety errors. Victor had 3 more than Chang did in the safety category.
When the guys are that good, it's all about creating that first chance or not giving away that
who beats who to the shot.
Yeah,
we talked about it with Alex Pagulayan. He was moving Phil around and making sure he got the first shot, or more saying, making sure he wasn't giving Phil the first opportunity.
Right.
We're giving him the first punch, and nobody's better than Alex at that, and that's what the break form, this new format and the break rule is doing. There's more movement. We saw it in the Moscone Cup as well. Chilaire's going to have to start realizing it's not running out that's going to win you tournaments. It's making sure that you're not giving the other guy the opportunity to run out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different game now. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge part of the game.
Yeah. I love it. I think it's great. We're seeing much more. We're seeing many more facets of the game. We're seeing everything that's necessary in order to be a top pool player, not just ball potting.
Yeah.
We got to be grateful for that, and that's the direction the format is going. Because man, last year is like one in the spin fight. Who's going to outshoot who, and it's tough to outrun over and over again. But if you have a broader game, like I think somebody like Efren in his prime would love this format of 9-ball. Because he never had a super strong break anyhow.
No, his break was always cream puff.
And somebody like Earl wouldn't be happy with it.
Yeah, well, Earl would be on tilt probably because of the cover. But he's done well. He did well at the international, which I was surprised he was so productive on his break, on his cut break. He figured it out and won big matches, and So I don't know.
You gonna be in Vegas, Ray?
Probably not. I don't have a word back yet. I've been wanting to try and get into the world event, but there's like a big player list, and who knows? Maybe Mickey Meatballs will put in a good word for me. But, no, probably not. If not that, then I'm probably just gonna keep training some local events. I'm gonna be playing in. I've been doing pretty well in. Good. Building up into the points events throughout the season.
Good luck.
That'll be the move. U.S. side.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to everybody who hung around for an hour and 40 minutes listening to us rattling on and on and on and on and on. I hope some of it was useful. I hope some of it was educative. Everything else, and I'm hoping some of it was entertaining.
Mike, no Nate. We had to do.
No, Nate. Good. So at least you didn't. At least you didn't get the ugly part of it. You got the good-looking guys this time. Yeah. You got the good-looking guys. So Rob, Raymond, Mike, thanks a lot for joining.
Cheers, pals.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Yeah. Cheers,
guys.
See you, fellas.